Last week, right here at this desk, at this exact time, I said Trump would expose Kamala like he did to Joe Biden during the debate as being unfit to be president. And guess what? He did. When Kamala is unrehearsed, without a teleprompter, without her overly exuberant, stolen valor support person by her side, Kamala is a vegetable in a pantsuit. They're trying to portray her as a Hillary Clinton meets Barack Obama. But here's Kamala in her first solo interview with a local Philadelphia news reporter when she was asked what she had to say to Trump supporters.
How do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
Based on experience and a lived experience, no. In my heart, I know. In my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans.
Say what? I mean, did she really even say anything that anyone could understand there? This is why I was disgusted with the multiple come-alives that happened during that debate that were not fact-checked by her cohorts at ABC News. Instead, they fact-checked President Trump even when he was telling the truth.
Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice President Harris,
the FBI they were defrauding statements.
You saw Kamala there shaking her head. Meantime, the DOJ came out with a report saying exactly what President Trump just said, that crime nationwide is sky high. When you really dissect, right, what happened at the debate, here's what it all boils down to. Trump is a human being, and Kamala is the consummate politician. Trump thoughtfully and truthfully, he tried to answer every single question. You could see he was laser focused, really trying to think exactly how to answer the question. Meantime, you saw Kamala, right? She didn't answer a single question. She spoke in platitudes. They asked her about her stance on abortion. She didn't answer. They said about her economy. She really didn't answer. And she did a great job executing a tried and true debate strategy. Never answer the question and then distract your opponent with a vicious gut punch lie in order to elicit an emotional response like she did when she said people are leaving his rallies. Meantime, she's bussing in people for her rallies. But guess what? Voters, they didn't buy her BS, including the coveted independent voter. Take a listen to these two voters on CBS News.
She just basically repeated everything that Biden has said in the past.
What were your thoughts?
She made, Donald Trump made a strong closing statement by saying, why didn't they do all the things that she's proposing during the 3.5 years that they've been in office? And Biden did this entire moderate stance back in 2020, and she's trying to do it again in 2024. But she didn't talk about her policy changes between 2020 and 2024. Her whole centrist, moderate stance is just a facade.
Oh, my. They really hit the nail on the head. And did you see that black gentleman nodding his head in agreement? Mm-hmm. Kamala continues to tell the same lies she told during the debate, like the one where Goldman Sachs supposedly said that her economic policy is better than Trump's. Here's Kamala at a recent rally.
Goldman Sachs says my plan would grow our economy and his plan would shrink it.
All right. But then Kamala got kamikazed by the CEO of Goldman Sachs himself. Here he is being asked about Kamala's tall tale on CNBC.
The difference between the sets of policies that they put forward was about 0.2%. Okay, so economy grows. Okay, if you took these particular sets of policies they looked at, and by the way, we have no idea whether these policies, these things that are talked about, will ultimately be implemented. What was the growth impact? The differential was 0.2%. So I think our clients are trying to look at what's going on from a policy perspective and make judgments. I think this blew up into something that's bigger than what it was intended to be.
Of course, they made it bigger than what it was intended to be. Her whole campaign is bigger than what it is. I mean, it's a fraud. How are you going to blame Trump for everything wrong in the world when Democrats have been controlling the White House for the 12 of the last 16 years? And on the same note, you claim that you want to turn the page forward, but you're in office now, Kamala, taking the country backwards.
Look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you made it unattainable. Does she think we're this stupid? You did this, Kamala. Yours and Biden's economic policies, from restricting fossil fuel production to printing money, that's what caused the cost of living to skyrocket, for people not to be able to buy a home in 40 cities now. If you make $125,000 a year, that's not even middle class. It's no wonder that less than 1% of Americans now can even afford to buy a home.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard.
Do you see that? She just says the same thing over and over again. I'm a middle-class kid, and coming up, we're going to talk about it more. She talks about people mowing their lawns. I mean, just like her performance at the debate, everything about Kamala is as phony as her laugh, rehearsed as if this was some kind of big Hollywood production, which it basically is. That's why it is utterly ridiculous to me that Democrats think an endorsement by Taylor Swift is some kind of big deal. Oh, congratulations, Kamala. Taylor Swift is a woman who made a career out of writing songs and singing those very songs about horrendous choices that she's made in life, and she's made another one. I mean, if you're choosing the leader of the free world based off of Swift's judgment, the same girl who thought John Mayer was husband material, then as Swift herself sang in the song Anti-Hero, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Bottom line, we all have to stop allowing our emotions to dictate our common sensibilities. Kamala, she's a liar. She has lied over and over on that debate stage. She's done it in numerous rallies, you name it, and she's getting zero blowback from the media. That's what's frightening. But finally, the New York Times had to fact-check Kamala when she denied wanting to use taxpayer funds for illegals to become transgender. That lie was just one of many that's now been debunked. I bet at this point, Kamala can't even keep straight all of her lies, but we can. That's why it's important to get your news from places like Newsmax. Because remember, propaganda isn't just about creating fake news. It's also about hiding the real news. It's why when I've been asked who won the debate, I say, without a doubt, it's America who lost. Because without a free and fair press, we all end up losing.